Very well, you can engage us on our social media platforms at KTN News KE, at KTN Home _ at Dennis Assetto across all our social media platforms. Our hashtag is Weekend Prime. Remember that you're also streaming live on standardmedia.co.ke and on our YouTube channel. But now, let's go straight to the top story. Now, the National Dialogue Committee is set to and will shortly release its final report after weeks of hearing individuals and institutions. The report was initially supposed to be released at midday after its presentation to President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga, only for the event to be postponed until this evening. Issues that the report will address include the high cost of living in the country, IEBC reconstitution, the establishment of the offices of the leader of opposition, as well as Prime Cabinet Secretary, among other issues. Our political affairs reporter David Muthoka has been following up this story and now joins us with a live report. David, give us the highlights of what you know so far of what the committee has released and what we should expect. Muthoka, kindly give us the latest update on what has happened so far with regard to that report and what the committee has released and what exactly we should be expecting as well, Muthoka.
Well, after more than 60 days of painstaking work of drafting the report, collecting views, redrafting the report, finally the National Dialogue report is out. And that report has been released just a few minutes ago by the National Dialogue Committee that is chaired by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah. And from that report, we can see that there have been a number of concessions and a number of areas that the negotiators have differed on. Remember, this very report had been expected to tackle 6 major issues. Top among them, the high cost of living in the country, the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the entrenchment of the office of the official leader of opposition, as well as the entrenchment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Now, that report, having been released just a few minutes ago, I can just go through the areas where the committee has agreed on and areas where it has not agreed on and now has forwarded those issues to their principals, President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga, to deliberate on and agree on. And now, the issues where they have agreed on include: 1, the entrenchment of the office of the leader of opposition. And remember, that office is set to be occupied by the person who garners the second most highest vote in an election. Now, that office, once entrenched in the Constitution, is expected to be led by the official leader of opposition, and of course, he or she is said to have 2 deputies. Now, the other thing they have agreed on, touching on the high cost of living, is the reduction of a number of levies on fuel, and that includes the road maintenance levy as well as the anti-adulteration levy by 5 shillings and 3 shillings respectively. They have agreed on the entrenchment of the National Government Constituency Development Fund as well as the Ward Development Fund, which has not been there, as well as the entrenchment of the Senate Oversight Fund. Now, areas where they have differed on, and these are issues now that are on the desk of President William Ruto as well as opposition leader Raila Odinga, is the reduction of the value-added tax on fuel that currently stands at 16%. And remember, the opposition wanted that VAT reduced by half to 8%. And the other area where they have differed on is the scrapping off of the housing levy. Now, other areas where they have agreed on, especially in terms of reducing the high cost of living, is for the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to reduce subsistence allowances for state officials by 30%, as well as the reduction of travel budgets by 50%. Now, those are basically, in a nutshell, the issues that we have seen this report address, and of course, a more detailed report is set to be made public in the coming days, of course, by the National Dialogue Committee. So eventually, after 60 days of a lot of work, not only by the committee, but also by the various technical teams, we finally have a report that, once given the green light by President Ruto and Raila Odinga, now the process of entrenching, or rather of legalizing these very proposals and recommendations, is set to start. And most of these proposals are set to kick in the coming years, and those actually that touch on the election, the previous election, as well as the upcoming election in 2027, are set to kick in starting the next election cycle. Not to forget, of course, they have agreed on the audit of the previous election, not knowing especially the specifics of that, but they have agreed that there is a need to audit the previous general election. And finally, the IEBC reconstitution, they want the number of the selection panel members to be increased from 7 to 9. And not forgetting also, they have recommended that the duration for the listening of a presidential petition at the Supreme Court to be increased from 14 days, and that is 2 weeks, to 3 weeks, and that is 21 days. Just some of the many proposals and recommendations in the NADCO report. Of course, that is it for now. Dennis Oseto. Our viewers, of course, will be getting more of this in the coming bulletins about the NADCO report, but that is it for now.
David, coming to us live from the location where the report was released, and in that report is giving us specific